Welcome to the Hidden Potential Podcast. I'm your host, Homer Hargrove. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of being yourself as a leader. In this episode, I'm going to be giving you 3 takeaways at the end to be able to help you directly apply what we talk about today in your organization. Every week, we give you good content to be able to help you tap into your potential. We do that by giving you mental and practical tools to help equip your leadership through your ministry or organization. Let's get right into it with a big thought, and that is one of the most common pains in leadership is imposter syndrome. Feeling like you can't really be yourself. People constantly think that they have to be somebody else in order to be successful, but it's simply not true. The more that you try to pretend to be someone else, the more stunted your leadership impact is going to be. When you allow yourself to be authentic, your real self, you will reach people who only you would be able to reach. I love what Groeschel says. He says, people would rather follow someone who is always real rather than someone who is always right. And there is a healthy balance of being a genuine person, a genuine leader, while still working to become a better version of yourself, a better leader. And we can pursue change while still at the same time remaining true to ourselves. And in this episode, I'm going to share from my own experiences of imposter syndrome, and I'm going to unpack some guiding principles to help you navigate your own journey of becoming an authentic leader that reaches the people that no one else would be able to reach. And with that, I'm going to start with the idea of breaking the mold. Now, for me, the majority of my leadership is within church and ministry. For me, when I first gave my life to Christ, I was not raised in church. And so once I got started, I really did not know all of the unspoken rules or culture or even church politics, for that matter, that I was supposed to mold into. And I still remember when I went to a ministry school and I had the other students in that school tell me that they never thought I was going to last longer than 2 weeks inside of a church. And for me, I thought that was a ridiculous thing to say. But now that I've been in ministry for 13 years, I understand what they were saying. It was wrong. I don't think that church should really be like that. But what they were projecting is that I did not fit into the mold of church, of traditional church. And see, it's easy to fit in when you deny who you are. And learning what guides your soul, what guides your passion is pivotal when you're learning how to become a genuine leader. For me, there's a period where I thought that I had to fit into that mold of churchianity. And I changed the way that I dressed. I changed the way that I looked. I changed the way that I talked. And more, I became this religious version of myself that I thought I was supposed to be in order to be a better leader. But truly, I ended up dying more and more to my personhood, my soul, really. Everything that made me who I was denying my upbringing. I was denying my experiences, good and bad. And I was really just pretending to be somebody that I wasn't. And don't get me wrong, I still ministered in that version of myself that was just a mold of what I thought I was supposed to be. But once I decided to throw off those chains of pretending, to throw off that mold and break out of it, I'm telling you that the minute that I did that, I had exponential impacts to the ministry that I was doing compared to before. I mean, it was the amount of ministry I did in the first year of me being my genuine version of self was more than the 5 years that I had been doing ministry trying to pretend to be somebody else. It was just so much more impacting, and I was reaching people that I had never reached before. And it was because when you understand who you are, that like when you dig deep in understanding exactly what it is that you believe, and even more importantly, why you believe what you believe, that's pivotal. When you figure that out, you don't have to conform to the mold around you because you are setting this mold. You're becoming your genuine self. And I'm telling you, if you break that mold, you will make an impact, because anyone could say what everyone always says. Let me rephrase that. That didn't even sound like it makes sense. Let me slow down. You may have something to say that is the same thing that other people have said, but no one can say what is said like you could say it. You dig what I mean? It's because you have personality, you have identity, and you could hear this. Someone could hear the same thing from you that they heard from someone else, but the way you said it makes sense. Break the mold and allow yourself to be genuine. You will reach people that no one else is reaching if you allow yourself to be authentic. Now, now that we talked about breaking the mold, let's talk about imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is believing that you're just faking it till you make it. And every leader who has a healthy sense of self-perception experiences real insecurities and fears about their own abilities to lead successfully. If you do not feel imposter syndrome, if you do not feel insecure as a leader, you should slow down and check yourself, because you may have a false perception of reality around you. You may think that you're 100 times better than you really are. I like how Craig Groeschel gave a method that to grade, he would ask leaders to grade themselves upon a scale of 1 to 10 in their leadership. And that generally when someone graded themselves as a low number, like a 2 or 1 or 3, that they were often high level leaders because they had a good perception of themselves. But those who rated themselves as like 7, 8, 9, that their level of leadership was, a level 7, 8, 9 on a scale of 100, that they were so much less than they thought of themselves, that they had a false reality of who they were. And so imposter syndrome is not necessarily bad, okay? It is just recognizing those initial fears. It's recognizing the gravity of something meaningful you're set out to do. It's recognizing that there's something significant before you that you feel intimidated by. And the fact that you feel intimidated by is actually something great. That's healthy. That means that you are being stretched outside of your comfort and you are growing. But you can't allow those fears to own you. See, that I really feel like there's no better way to describe it, because those fears can enslave and entrap you to be this mundane, mediocre leader that doesn't achieve anything that is risky because it's too afraid that they're not enough. And you must stop that fear from pushing the limits of who you think you can become. Don't let fear determine your potential. You are not just faking it till you make it. If I could sidestep, and I remember this moment where a minister that was older than me one time gave me some unsolicited advice. And I got to tell you, if you know me, I am not good at being churchy. I'm not being good at like rhyming words in punchline church ministry. I hate that kind of stuff. And this guy was giving me advice. I was a really young leader. I was 22 at the time, I think. And as he was giving me advice as myself being a youth pastor, he started saying something along the lines of, and you know what, brother? Sometimes you got to faith it till you make it. And it rubbed me the wrong way, because even then, I did not like this idea of this leader who was unobtainable, this leader who was on a pedestal and not real. And I just did not jive with that. And see, for me, that was a breaking out of the mold moment. And it was also a moment where I had to address my imposter syndrome and decide who I wanted to be. And you should not pretend to be someone you're not, but you also shouldn't believe that you can't be who you want to be. You are sharpening the best parts of yourself right now in order to achieve something greater than ordinary. You may not be your best version of self, but you don't have to pretend to be that you've arrived. Don't pretend you're a superhero when you're still just trying to make it. You could be genuine at the same time trying to achieve something greater than ordinary. Y'all dig what I'm saying? Be honest with your fears, but don't let those fears stop you. Now, the last thing I want to address is the idea that you belong. You belong. See, it's incredibly easy to get lonely in leadership, regardless if you're trying to break out of any molds or not, regardless if you're trying to be genuine. but especially if you're striving to achieve things outside of ordinary expectation, especially if you're striving to be an authentic version of yourself as a leader, there will be times where you feel like no one understands you. You're going to feel like even maybe no one even believes in you. Everyone's waiting for you to fail. And it will make you feel like you don't fit in anywhere because of the fact that you were willing to be unique. Now, I want to just be honest with you guys. I want to be transparent. There's not too long ago, again, I've been doing ministry for 13 years, and I've had plenty of people tell me a piece of their mind. I've had plenty of people who've told me that they've admired me, other people who've told me they hated me. I've had people tell me that I'm going to do great things. I've other people tell me that I'm never going to amount to anything. I've had people tell me to not give up, and I've had people tell me that I should just quit. And I'm telling you, after 13 years, I feel somewhat relentless. I feel good at the calling that God has on my life, and I feel like I'm steadfast. Be that as it may, dang dog, there are some times where I get discouraged. And it was not too long ago where I was having a conversation with somebody, and they pretty much accidentally let a cat out of the bag that there was a group of other ministers that had pretty much not high opinion of me, that they did not think highly of me, and that they thought of me as less than. Almost like it seemed as though like a mediocre minister that is not doing it the right way. And again, I've heard that all before, but for this time, it was in a place where I thought that I had been accepted previously. When I would show up, it seems like everyone is cool. And then to hear that people are actually saying negative things about you behind your back, well, that doesn't feel good to anybody. But for me personally, it started kind of like triggering me in hitting those nodes of false fears that I used to believe, like you're never going to fit in. And for me, there's just a day where I said, I'm not going to be churchy. I'm not going to be wear these chains of religion. I'm going to be who God called me to be. I'm going to be myself as I minister the gospel the best that I can. And there's this moment where I was feeling a little discouraged. I felt even sad because I started thinking, man, I still don't fit in with other ministers. After all these years, everything that I've set out to achieve, I'm out here like trying my best and grinding to be a minister, to bring people the gospel, bring people to salvation. I'm baptizing, I'm evangelizing, I'm going to places to minister that no one else is going. And here I am still not accepted among other ministers. And I felt genuinely sad. Coincidentally, that same week, at two of the major places that I minister at, being my church and a recovery center that I go to weekly, at both of these places, I coincidentally had people share in this moment of feedback that how much they just love the ministry time that they got to experience with me, and that they so much so that they were talking personally about me as a minister and really just building me up and saying that I've never felt like I could receive something like this before, but you make it so blah, blah, blah. And it was just such a personal touch about them being ministered to, but expressing how it was so uniquely done through me, how God used me in this way that was unique. And for me, it was almost like God orchestrated, whereas it's just this reminder for me that to not give up and to not break into the mold, to not be afraid to break out of that mold, to remind myself that I'm not this imposter, and to remind myself that I am supposed to be genuine. That yes, rejection will convince you that you're rejected everywhere. But the truth is, you may not belong everywhere, but you do belong somewhere. And for me, I have found this safe haven with people that I minister to, people within my inner circles that really do encourage me and build me up and remind me that the work that I do is valuable and that they appreciate me being myself as I minister. And so with that being said, I hope that you're encouraged with this message today. I hope that you really feel inspired to break the mold, to find out who you really are, to throw off imposter syndrome. Yes, grow in yourself, become a better leader, but don't pretend to be like you're someone else. Be you as you grow, and remember that you do belong somewhere. You may not belong everywhere, but you belong somewhere. Now let's do 3 takeaways before we wrap up today's episode. Number 1, write down 3 guiding principles that are pivotal for you to who you are and what you believe in. Write down 3 guiding principles for your own life. It's like, imagine for a moment how often we write core values for an organization or a ministry, whatever it is. I want you to do 3 guiding principles, 3 core values for yourself that are just like your North Stars. Y'all dig what I'm saying? If you want to do 3 to 5, go ahead, but strive to hit 3 and start to dig deep of what you believe in and why. Find out who you are. Number 2, own who you are and write down 10 self-affirming statements that define who you want to become. So again, we're not going to allow imposter syndrome to dictate where our potential is. We're going to tell ourselves where we want to become and write down 10 self-affirming statements about yourself and read them to yourself every morning. I'm telling you, in times of great discouragement for me, doing some self-affirmations like this really carried me through. Make them into a part of your prayer life, and it'll help remind you of who you are becoming. Again, staying true to yourself as you are growing of yourself. And finally, number 3, identify what kind of person you lead best. And then list 3 people that you can confide in transparently who will encourage you. So what I'm saying is identify your niche. Like for me, I have found without a doubt that I minister to unchurched people. That is my niche. That is my number 1 ministry is to people who either don't fit in at normal church, who have never been attenders at church, or people who have even been hurt by church and have not gone back in a long time. That is my group of people that I minister to. Within that umbrella has been people in recovery. But what I'm talking about is the specific kind of people that you reach best. I think you'll find it within your personality, your identity, and then list 3 people that you can confide in, people that can build you up. For me, I have 2 specific mentors in my life that I talk to on a regular basis, one on a weekly basis, another on a monthly basis, and they are my encouragers. I can confide in them with some real stuff, and they are able to build me up and help guide me. And it's important to have people like that in your life. Whether it's mentors, whether it's friends, or even your spouse, you need some people that you can rely on. All that being said, I hope that this episode was encouraging to your soul. I hope that was edifying for your leadership. Before you get off today, can you please do me a favor? Can you leave a rating and review for this podcast? It really helped me out and help others be able to see this content as well. All that being said, until next time, have a good life.